And now, the best 60-ish seconds of your week. First things first, and the answer to last week's trivia question, who was Mr. October, Reggie Jackson's most famous high school schoolmate? And the answer came in from a man that wears a black robe and wishes to remain anonymous. But he, unlike so many others who guessed a sports star, correctly stated that the answer is the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu, who attended Cheltenham High School in suburban Philadelphia with Reggie Jackson back in the mid-1960s. So there you have it. And we'll talk more about baseball and the Fall Classic next week and some of the correlations between who wins the World Series and who prevails in November elections. Always a lot of nonsensical connection there, but worth talking about. Since we last spoke, the historic confirmation vote on now Justice Brett Kavanaugh of the Supreme Court of the United States took place, and the conversation quickly turned to what will be the political fallout of that. First, I should say that the vote, 50 to 48, was an interesting one because we had set the over-under at 52. That came shortly after I said that anybody that made predictions about how that was going to turn out was foolhardy. Went ahead and did it anyway. But there was an extra vote in there for Justice Kavanaugh in the form of Steve Daines, who paired his vote with Senator Murkowski, a no vote, because he was attending the wedding of his daughter and walking her down the aisle at the time of the vote. So really 51, pretty darn close to 52, and close enough for this, that's for sure. What will be the fallout? We really don't know, but this much is safe to say. Both sides are energized, and the energy has increased as a result of the Kavanaugh fight. But what's particularly important to notice right now is the Republicans have closed up the enthusiasm gap, in my judgment, largely because of the Kavanaugh fight. The mob rule stuff that they saw just didn't work. It didn't boil down to the particulars of the fight, but rather the optics of people being carted out of the hearing room and banging on the doors of the Supreme Court and all that kind of stuff, which really did not inure to the benefit of the other side. And now the Republican voters are coming home. It was inevitable that that would happen and that the enthusiasm gap would close, but it's happening much earlier and much more intensely than you might have previously predicted. And you see it in the polling data where the generic ballot for congressional races is now down to -7. It had been -12 just a month ago, so you can see the trend lines there. Whether or not they continue, because there's a lot of water to go over the dam or under the bridge before November 6th arrives, remains to be seen. But it's worth watching. That may well tell who controls Congress come January. And finally, we had the unexpected announcement by Ambassador Nikki Haley this week that she is going to resign. And, immediately the parlor games began with folks that have never even met her, charting out her career path for the rest of her life. But this much, I think, is important to do, to take a step back, because she clearly can write her own ticket in many respects, and just acknowledge the magnificent job that this woman did for the United States of America and the impressive political skills that she possesses. She stood her ground in front of the entire world, time after time, whether it was moving our embassy to Jerusalem or taking on the North Koreans. She set forth our message for the world and for her own president, with whom she didn't always agree. She spoke her mind courageously, forcefully, eloquently, passionately, and often calmly and quietly, but she always carried a big stick. So whether or not she runs for president remains to be seen. I personally, as somebody that supported women for that office, think it would be a great idea. But that's a long way down the road. But this much is sure about Ambassador Nikki Haley. Her political star today shines much brighter than it did just a few months ago. So she clearly is somebody to watch. She's got a great future, and it's up to her. So for now, that is the best 60-ish seconds of your week.